Recycling electronic waste, a big challenge. Orpheus Project, public understanding of science. People use more and more electronic devices, and there's more and more electronic waste. It has to be taken apart. It contains valuable raw material and which can be reused, but some of the work that is necessary for recycling is very dangerous because of the chemical reactions. The other big problem is, where shall the electronic waste be? Can our German electronic waste be recycled in Germany? In this film, we are visiting an electronic waste recycling company, and we are talking to a professor and his team about the management of electronic waste. We are visiting the Braunschweig company Elpro. It handles electronic waste from private people, from public institutions, and from enterprises.
Here, a private person is bringing a dryer.
Companies bring containers of e-waste with trucks. The e-waste is carefully separated. Mrs. Oldermann explains that dangerous material inside the e-waste needs to be handled with extreme care. When a device has quicksilver inside, the worker puts his hands into a special cabin so that he doesn't breathe in the air.
Und nicht den Mitarbeiter, der dort am Zerlegeplatz arbeitet, schädigt. Denn Quecksilber ist hochtoxisch und gesundheitsbelastend und wir wollen natürlich jedwede Belastung der Mitarbeiter vermeiden.
We are pleased to talk to Dr. Dirk Schöps from the company Elpro. He is the manager here. And we have the question, how many people are working here?
We have 70 employees working in this company.
And how much is brought here in one day?
We get about 25 to 30 tons a day.
Are you getting more e-waste from year to year?
Yes, we do. The amount increases about 5 to 10% a year.
So can you give an example what was delivered this year?
This year, all kinds of electronic devices which you can imagine.
Sometimes it is easy to take a machine apart. You take a hammer and a screwdriver and you take it apart. But what if the electronic machine contains dangerous or poisonous chemicals? And how do you deal with this problem?
We have trained workers here who can recognize and see what poisonous and hazardous substances contain, such as asbestos or mercury or PCB. These are very dangerous chemicals, and the workers can see them, can identify the components where these chemicals are inside and take them apart.
The European Union cares about its citizens. Until 2019, the increasing e-waste stream shall be significantly reduced in all countries in Europe. A directive became effective in February 2014, and there's also a law from 2013 that forbids dangerous and chemical e-waste. Also, illegal transport of e-waste to Africa shall be prevented. The laws and regulations from Brussels need to be fulfilled in every member country in Europe. So what is the so-called Elektrogesetz in Germany?
The Elektrogesetz is the law which forces the producers to take back the old electronic devices, the scrap, and they are forced to recycle them.
What do the shops like MediaMarkt have to do?
Actually, they are not obliged to take back the electronic devices, the old ones, but in future, when the Elektro-G will be renovated, all retailers such as MediaMarkt and Saturn and so on shall be forced to take back old equipment.
At first glance, what happens in your company does not seem to be that complicated. Private people, cities, and factories deliver e-waste, and your workers take it apart. But if one looks closer, your work is very complicated. It is technical, but you need to organize very much and know the laws and the new regulations. And you never know 100% what is delivered to you. So how do you work together with the community?
We get e-waste from single persons, from the households, from the retailers, and also from the communities and so on. From each collection point in the area, we get the electronic devices.
Mm-hmm. And what does Electro-G take on effort for a school or for a carpentry or, for example, car factories?
This is something difficult because the Electro-G is for B2C devices. So these are devices used in private households, and on the other hand, B2B devices which are used in business companies. So a school or a car factory has to collect the old devices, and they can decide by themselves what they do with it.
Mm-hmm. And what do you expect in the next years? Like, what is your wish for the future when it comes to e-waste?
My wish for the future is to increase the collection, just to get more shares of the electronic waste stream. Up to now, we, as a recycler company, get only half of the whole amount of electronic waste. The other half goes somewhere else, goes somewhere in the cellars, goes to abroad, to overseas. Everybody knows the pictures from Nigeria and Ghana, where old appliances from Europe, from North America, from Japan are recycled in a very bad manner.
Mm-hmm. So what do you hope to happen in the future as a businessman, like you, as a person who cares about sustainability?
We would like to get more appliances in our factories. I'm talking not only for my own factory, but for the branch as it all. And because we are a certified company, and we are more than 100 companies in Germany which are treating electronic waste in certified plants.
Thank you very much for the interview.
You're welcome.
People all over the world use electronic devices, and there are different or similar problems with the recycling of e-waste. In New York City, for example, people have to bring their old TVs, etc. to recycling points. But what if they don't have a car? A local initiative collects e-waste at street corners, and one volunteer makes necklaces from cables. Now we are going to talk to Professor Fricke and his team from the TU Braunschweig. His field is waste management, Deutsch Abfallmanagement, and he knows about the situations in many countries of the world. Professor Fricke, we have looked at a company which collects e-waste. E-waste is one type of waste. Can you please tell us which types of waste there are?
This is a mixture of waste. Electronic waste, for example, mobile phones, for example, beamers, TVs, refrigerator, and all these devices, we named it electronic waste. And for us it's very important because there's an extremely increasing of electronic waste in the last years. And so we estimate every year 5 to 10% more. And therefore it's a big problem for waste management. On one hand, because of poisoning, also of emission, and otherwise we have in this device very seldom elements like rare earths and also strategic metals. And because of this background, it's a question of resources and resource protection. So it has a very big potential for recycling because it is said 1 ton of electronic waste has 500 euro value.
In German, the word waste has 2 meanings. It means Abfall and also Verschwendung. To waste, verschwenden. Back in 1946, there was no Verschwendung. Is there so much waste today in Germany because the country is so rich?
Yes, in some fact I think so, because the quantity and the quality of the waste shows the economical state of a country. On one hand, the people are able to earn, to buy more new products. They don't have to repair something. And on the other hand, electronic devices get more and more important. And so there is a very difficult trash we have to treat after it.
But I think you have to have in your mind, recycling starts by a special limit of income. That means the income is growing, and I think countries with very high income start with recycling. When you have a very poor country, there's absolutely no recycling. On one hand, it's right what Andreas said, that we have an increase of waste amount, but otherwise, with better education, with better income, it starts recycling. So it's a combination of both.
Okay. So in Germany, people and companies separate waste and they recycle. Would you say in some aspects that they or we are doing enough?
Oh, special question. When you compare it with other countries, I think Middle Europe, that means Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Switzerland, they're recycling a lot. We have a rate around 60 to 65% of all waste. So it's a very high level. Otherwise, there are numbers or there are requirements from the World Bank that said when we want to secure our resources for the future, we need 95%. And when you have the orientation by the 95, then we don't do enough. We have to increase. But the laws we have in Europe and also in Germany, they require at the moment 65%, 70%. But in the area of electronic waste, it is very bad. We have very low recycling rate, maximum around 20-25%.
You are an expert for waste management. And in Germany we have the garbage trucks which come every week. And would you say that everything is well organized in Germany?
We came back to the question before, the previous one. Then we have to say no. But again, compared with other countries, I think everything is very well organized. According to other things, waste management is not only a question of resources, it's also a question of emissions. For example, climate change. It is not known all around the world that waste management, the area or the sector of waste management, takes part of greenhouse gases around 10 to 12%. And so I think in this area we do a lot because we closed all our landfills, we have pre-treatment before landfill, we have a very high amount of recycling, and so I think we do a lot. And when you look at the cities are more or less clean, more or less. Some not so, some part not so, but in general I think it's very good, and I think we are very positive examples for other countries, particularly in the development countries and threshold countries. Germany has a very well name in the area of waste management. And when we work in this area, our department works, I think, around 50% of all our activities we have abroad, and then we try to adapt our technology to the requirements of the development countries, for example.
You are experts about waste problems in many countries around the world. Can you please give us one example where there could be a big problem with waste?
I give you two. I think we have three areas. One area is recycling as a basis for resources secure. This is one point. This is not a big problem. When we talk about environment, we have two big issues. One is climate change. I mentioned it before. 10 to 12% of all greenhouse gases are emitted from landfills. And the second point is marine litter. That means plastic coming from the countries, and we found it again in the oceans. We have in the oceans, I think, 900 million tons of plastic in all areas of the big oceans. And in Germany, some years ago, it said, no, we have no problem with marine litter, that means plastic in the oceans. It's wrong. When you look at the beaches on the Baltic Sea or North Sea, we have a lot of plastics. It said every meter we have around 500 pieces of plastic. We have in the Mediterranean Sea 800 tons of plastic only in the sediment. But maybe it's the basic for the next, for urban mining in the future. Then we take this waste and try to find out to produce oil or to take the plastic. Now, I think these are the main issues: climate change and marine litter.
We have seen how a company separates electronic waste. Can you give us some information, please? What are special problems about electronic waste?
Yeah, in the case of electronic scrap, there are three big issues. The first is the collection rate, which talked Mr. Fricke about. And another problem is the very high amount of hazardous material, like heavy metals, cadmium, bromine, and lead or mercury, all these stuffs. It's very dangerous for the health of the people who work with it. And the third big problem is the very little amount of the resources of like gold or platinum, copper. And so this all is combined in a very, very small room, and so it's very difficult to select all these different materials.
But the biggest problem, I think, in this area is the export of our electronic waste from North America, Europe and Asia. 50% is transported illegal to Africa. And there are little children who make this recycling. They damage the TVs and everything, or they burn it. Then they burn the composites, the plastic, so that they can find the metals easier. But the problem is when you burn plastic and such kind of heavy metals and you produce dioxins. And it is said one of the dirtiest areas in the world are these areas where they make electronic recycling. And these children, they ever will be children because they will die in the middle of 20. Because they are working in this area, working in this air and this burning steam, and so they got a lot of problems with their health.
Okay, well, that leads us to our last question. Is it possible to have no waste at all as a private person? What do you think?
I don't think so, because every banana peel is just waste, and you have to treat it, so there's always anything.
It is not possible to provide everything. So recycling product or recycling based on waste. And so you need both. On one hand, the recycling, and on the other hand, to provide. But to provide 100%, I think it's a nice goal. Yes, you set it as a target, but it's not possible at the moment.
Hi, my name is Anton Zeiner. I'm working at the field of collecting of electronic waste. Nowadays we have a big project here in Germany, in Braunschweig, with the local waste collecting company called Alba Recycling GmbH. They want to establish a new collecting system because the law has changed here in Germany. Different new strategies from the government are established here, and we want to make a personal collecting system for the people here in Braunschweig so they can easily manage the recycling and throw away of electronic waste.